Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode with me, Shashank Udupa. And in today's episode, it's going to be quite fun because I recently went for a very long vacation to France. I went for a 12-day vacation to France, and then I got a lot of questions from a lot of people asking me the different hacks I used, what was the expense of the trip, how much did it cost to go by flight, did you use some kind of a special card for it, how did you accumulate points on those cards. There's a lot of questions that a lot of people ask me, so I said, okay, you know what, today I'm going to make a video on this. I'm going to tell you exactly in a brief outline with proof and with obviously some numbers. The today's video is not about showing how much I've spent on the trip. Please understand this very carefully. Today's video is about to understand how I optimized my trip, right? How I optimized my trip to use hacks and use different things to actually get the most benefit out of my trip. And also I'm going to give you guys three averages, which is a lower budget, medium budget and a high budget. I currently went on a medium budget trip, but I can also tell you how much it would cost if you go on a high budget and how much it would cost if you go on a low budget trip, right? So I'm going to talk about all of this and understand also in this video that I'm going to talk about two people in this trip. It's me and my wife who went for the trip, but I will also break it down if you go alone, right? And if you go with the low budget, how much can you do the entire France trip for? Okay, now first let's talk about flights, because usually the flight cost is the most expensive cost in any given point of time for any given trip, right? So I'm currently traveling from Bangalore to Paris. That was my first destination that I thought I'll go directly to Paris first. Now if you look at the flight cost, it's very expensive. Now I have booked a business class ticket for going. It was me and my wife both going towards Paris, and I hate sitting in economy. The difference of an economy and business class was not very big. Number two, the difference was approximately I think 50,000 when I booked it. So for example, Emirates is costing around 1.86, Air France 1.26, Air India 1 lakh. So it is all very expensive. But obviously if you know me very well, you will know that I obviously chose Air India mainly because it was giving me a massive benefit, right? So this was basically the flight I took. I'm looking at it currently in the September timeline, but this was exactly the day and flight I took, which was Bangalore to Delhi, Delhi to Paris, right? And the cost was also exactly the same. It was 1 lakh instead of 1 lakh 2,000. It was 1 lakh per person. So I booked two tickets for this. Now what is the advantage of me booking these two tickets, right? Now currently Air India, because of the Tata acquisition, is going through a massive shift in the technology in the backend, so I couldn't upgrade with my points over here. So that was one problem that I had faced, where I couldn't upgrade with my points. But what I did was I said, okay, that's completely all right. I booked two business class tickets over here because I knew I'm getting another advantage. And the other advantage is, if, for all the people who have not seen this video in the past, I use a travel credit card because I travel like this a lot, right? Now if you look at the travel credit card, I use a SBI signature travel credit card. Now why I use this is because I get, every time I swipe my card, I get 4 reward points for every 100 rupees spent. Now what happened was, there's another very secret thing over here, but not secret, but everyone knows this. There's another thing is called Elevate every time you fly. Now what happens here is, every time you go book tickets on the Air India website, okay, you get 30 reward points for every 100 rupees spent. Now 30 reward points for every 100 rupees that you spend, and I've spent 1 lakh for myself, right? So that's 1 lakh divided by 100 into 30, which is coming up to a massive number, right? And don't worry, I will show you an Excel sheet where I've broken down all the points and I've broken down the point conversion and the tickets, everything, right? So I'll come to this towards the end. Now this is 30 reward points when booked for self and 10 reward points when booked for others, which was my wife. I got massive amount of points, and I'll tell you in the end how many free tickets I got only because of this one flight as well, right? Next, what I did was in the return flight. Now the return flight was very expensive, right? The return flight was a Lufthansa flight, and I was traveling from the south of France. So I was traveling actually from Nice, not Bangalore, and I was traveling from Nice to Bangalore, right? So this is what I was doing, and that was slightly expensive. And I remember it was a Saturday when I caught the flight, and it was a Lufthansa flight which went to Frankfurt and then Frankfurt to back to Bangalore, right? Now I'll show you the ticket as well. I mean, I'm just showing you the price here. If it's there, I'll show you how much I have paid and how I also got a nice upgrade for 1/4 the cost, right? So it's not even there here. Is it coming? Is it not coming? Okay, it's not showing up here for some reason, but it was a Lufthansa through and through flight, right? Lufthansa to Nice and Nice to basically Bangalore. Now if you look at the price that I paid for this, I have paid approximately 763 euros for this flight for two people. Okay, 763 euros for two people, right? If you actually calculate how much is 763 euros into 80 rupees a euro, it's around 61,000 rupees. 61,000 matlab 30,000 for one ticket, 30,000 for another ticket. But If you have to book a seat, which is 24 euros, and I have to book because I'm with my wife, or else we'll both sit in two different locations, you have to pay 24 euros more. Now, another weird thing is they don't take baggage here. So you have to buy additional baggage, and obviously we had 25 kgs each. We had to pay another 130 euros for baggage, which ended up costing us totally around 917 rupees, which was quite expensive, right? 917 rupees into 80 rupees a euro would be around 73,000. So our blended cost was coming up to 35,000 per person. Okay, now this was a very long flight as well. It was a 14 hour flight. Now what I did was I said, whenever you want to upgrade to a business class, right, there's three ways you can do it. One, you directly go buy a business class ticket. It'll cost you 2-3 times more the cost, right? I don't know, it's not showing up here, but if I could actually show you the Nice to Bangalore Lufthansa business class ticket, it was more than 2,50,000 rupees. Oh, okay, it's coming up here in the next one, right? So it was more than approximately 2,50,000 rupees for one business class ticket. So two business class tickets for me and my wife, I would have had to pay 5 lakhs to end up paying this, right? 5 lakhs is a very, very big amount, and I wouldn't pay 5 lakhs for just a flight. So that was the biggest problem. So it was a 2,50,000. So then I said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. There's another way to upgrade. There's two other options. One, you go to the counter at the flight counter and then say how much is a paid upgrade, and usually they'll give you a very, very, very low cost. So if it's 2,50,000 for one ticket, they'll maybe give it to you at 1 lakh, right? It's very, very cheap at that point. Then I said, okay, that is also fine. The next way you can do this is when you log in and when you check into this, right, there is something called make us an offer where you can bid for an upgrade. So when you want to bid for an upgrade, you decide the price to bid. So what I did was I went on this bid for upgrade system and I said, you know what, the flight is 2.5 lakhs per person. I want to bid another 50,000 rupees to upgrade to a business class. Now the flight is 2.5 lakhs. I've currently paid around 35,000. I'm saying I want to pay another 50,000 rupees. For 85,000, I want to fly back business class, which is cheaper than my Air India flight. Okay. Now what happened was I got it. Weirdly, I got it for both of us, right? So I'll show you the thing over here as well. So this has automatically been upgraded to business class over here. This was the second email I got saying that your upgrade auction bot has been worked. And if you go down, if you look at the price I paid $600 for it, which is again around 80 rupees only, which is around 48,000. So I paid 48,000 here and another 35,000 there, which is totally around 80,000 के आसपास 85,000 I paid for a business class ticket return, which is costing me 2.5 lakhs. So I've automatically saved 3 times more, but I've also spent a little bit more, right? One more beautiful advantage over here, I don't know how many of you know this, but Lufthansa is also a part of something called Star Alliance, which is also a part of Air India. So I have taken the ticket of my Lufthansa flight, sent it to Air India and said, please add these points as well into my Air India account so that now I can travel for free even more. But I don't know how many points they'll give, so I have not added that in my points calculation. Another very important thing, when I booked my Air India flight, not only do I get points for traveling in Air India, I also get points through my credit card. And even this Lufthansa was booked on my credit card. Okay, the Air India credit card, where every time I spend 100 rupees, I get 4 points in return. So I've accumulated a very good number. But next, let me talk about what happened with my credit card. Now, the second biggest expense that you will incur when you go abroad is because you need to use a lot of cards, whether it's a debit card or a credit card, you will be using your international debit card or credit card, right? So if you're taking your Indian card, first of all, you have to open the limits and you have to tell the bank that you're traveling at a particular time, or else they'll think it's fraud. But every time you swipe some money or the other, every time you swipe for any transaction, you have to pay something known as forex markup charges. So imagine another 3.5% tax kind of a system every time you swipe your credit card. But there is a solution which I told you guys before I left itself, right? Now, to basically save all my expenses, I basically took this card. Now I'm going to put the link of this card in the bio as well. This is basically called a Neo Global card, which has zero forex markup charges. That 3.5% I told you, it has nothing like that. It has zero charges, and basically you also get domestic and international lounge access in India. And this is also available in more than 150 different countries. Now, why is this important, right? Because every time you shop, every time you swipe your card for some gift purpose or some coffee, right, you basically pay the 3.5% extra called forex markup charges. And in my trip, I spent more than 2 lakhs on this card, and because of that, the forex markup charge would have been 7,000 rupees, right, which is basically 2 meals in Europe I would have basically saved if I had used my own original card. So basically this helps that a lot right now. So I would suggest you take this card. It takes around 7 to 10 days to come. You can book it, and then it's very easy because on the app you can do everything. So this is how I saved a lot of money on credit cards as well. Okay, now the third thing I'm going to talk about now is my stay. So let's look at the staying expense. Staying in Europe is also not very cheap, but it's not like I will go on a very budgeted trip. I used to do that when I was a bachelor. Now I'm married, so I have to go on a slightly better trip. But all three variations are there, and I'll show you the difference in pricing as well. But more important than the pricing, okay, let me show you how I optimized my staying in Paris or in France, and again got free tickets for the same. Now you'll be like, Shashank, how many free tickets do you want? I'll take as much as I get, right? So basically now I'll show you how I did that, and for this I basically used Vistara, and I'm going to show you with proof how I actually do it in real time, because I practice what I preach as well. Now this is the Vistara credit. This is the Vistara account, right? This is by Tata. Obviously, we all know that. You basically get a Club Vistara account, which is completely free. And after you do that, you need to go to Plan Travel and click on Hotels. Once you click on Hotels, it goes to this website, which is basically a Booking.com powered website for all your hotel bookings, right? Now, every time you spend 50 rupees here, you get 1 CV point. That means every time you spend 100 rupees here, you get 2 Club Vistara points, right? And once you get 4,000 Club Vistara points, you can get a free ticket easily anywhere. Now, what did I do? I booked some of my places here, and I'll show you what is it, right? So one by one, let me show you. So this was the first place that we stayed, which was called Jardins Eiffel. Now again, this is not a very big room. Okay, it is just close to the Eiffel Tower because it gave me the view of an Eiffel Tower. And for 4 nights, I basically ended up spending 60,000 rupees for 4 nights. So if you actually break it down, it was somewhere around 15,000 rupees per night. Now this is for a medium budget trip. High budget trip right in center of Paris near the Eiffel Tower would be much more expensive. A low budget trip, if you go for that, instead of 15,000, you would end up paying anywhere between 7 to 10,000. So that is also possible for you guys. Now, apart from booking that, I also booked it through my Vistara ID. Look at this is the Vistara ID. Now, what it's going to do is once, I think after 64 days, right? After 64 days of my checkout, it's going to take me 2 months now. I'm going to get 1,159 Vistara points only for this booking. And that's going to add to my free ticket travel plan, right? Now this is going to give me 1,100 points. Same thing I did after that. I went to a place called Toulouse. I booked Toulouse again from here, which was basically a very normal thing of 10,000 bucks. This was Crown Plaza, right? But there was Radisson Blu. There was other place as well, which was slightly lower and cheaper as well, which is somewhere around 7 to 8,000 again. So you can afford to stay there. This was right in the center of the main center square, but the only problem was I paid little extra on parking, which I'll also tell you, right? Again, for this Club Vistara, I got 256 points. After that, I stayed in a place called Apart Hotel in Marseille. Now this was a 2-night stay, but again, as you see, my budget was 10,000 per night. So this was a studio apartment. Okay, this was a beautiful studio apartment, and I quite enjoyed it because I wanted that extra space at one point where I could go inside. There was a kitchen, there was a place to sit, there was a hall. It was quite big, right, for 10,000 rupees, and there was other Radisson Blues and all that for 10,000, which was not that great. Again, for this I got 406 Vistara points as well. So again, I kept adding all these things. All my stays were helping here. Some stays I didn't book on the Vistara, mainly because sometimes what happens is Booking.com also provides you with massive discount, which Vistara will not provide you. So if there is a massive difference between this and that, I go back to Booking.com because I'm a Genius 2 member there, so I get some kind of discount over there, right? So again, this was a 2-day stay, which was approximately 26,000. So approximately it came out to 13,000 a night. Again, somewhere in my budget, but this was also a studio apartment that I took, where you have to cook, and you have 1-bedroom apartment, again for 3 people, but we were 2, but it was quite spacious and in the center of the city, right? So I tried to optimize as much as possible for the center of city as opposed to going out, because then I would have to travel a lot. But again, Uber and all was quite expensive, but I'll come to all of that, the miscellaneous expense. Okay, next I'll come to public transport. Now there's 2 ways you can travel across Europe, right? One is you take the local trains, which goes from one place to another. So if you're going from Paris to south of France, you can take a high-speed train, not very expensive, very optimized. You will reach on time, but if you have very big bags, I would suggest go like a backpacker and take smaller bags, because you have to keep the bag somewhere else. So that is something that is very cheap, and also very good quality of trains over there, so you can use that. But what I plan to do is, because I'm talking about myself in this video, I have basically taken a car because I wanted to drive a car. Now again, couple of rules here. The car was a left-hand drive, not a right-hand drive, so it was very difficult for me to adjust. Apart from that, there was a lot of hidden costs that I did not anticipate while booking the car, which I will also tell you. But first, let me show you how I got a car, who I got a car from, and how I got a free upgrade, and how all of you guys can also get the free upgrade. Okay, stay tuned. Now, before going, basically, I went to this website called Klook, right? Now, there's a website, there's a lot of other websites as well. There's Klook, there's Kayak Cars and all that. But I went to Klook basically to get a mini SUV, not a big SUV, a mini SUV. And I picked it up from this car supplier called National. Now, when you pick up a car, first of all, there's a couple of things you need to look at. You need to look at mileage. If they give unlimited mileage, you can travel how much ever you want. It's on you, right? And also, you need to take up all the insurances that you can get, right? Which is collision damage waiver, excess, theft protection. Whatever happens, you don't have to pay because, boss, if you bang the car somewhere, you will have a very big problem over here, right? And I also took the English GPS because without GPS it'll be almost impossible for you to drive. Google Maps will not help you because the local roads are very different, right? So I picked it up from Paris on 27th. I took it for 7 days and I dropped it back at my Nice airport when I was leaving back to my back to India, right? Now, a couple of things here are very important. You need a valid passport, you need to have a driving license, and also it is also recommended that you need to have something known as an international driving permit, IDP. Now, Indians are supposed to carry an international driving permit. You can just go to your RTO and ask for it. They'll give it to you for 2-3,000 rupees. But I forgot to do the IDP. But I went there and I got it. They did not ask me for an IDP. So I was slightly lucky. Just my license was something that was required, but some people might get a little worked up and say no, without IDP will not give you. Now let me tell you the hack here. Okay, there is something called Emerald Club with National. Now let me open what Emerald Club is. This is how I got the free upgrade. So Emerald Club basically says if you become a part of this club, if you enroll for this club, you get a lot of benefits, right? You basically get basically 7 free. If you take 7 days rental, you get 1 day for free, which is great. You get a slightly higher car. Choose any mid-sized car, but pay for choose any mid-sized or bigger car, but you pay for a mid-sized vehicle, but this is only for US and Canada. Then you have express checkout and some benefits were there. Then I said, okay, you know what, let me go enroll for this benefit. It is completely free to do it. All you have to do is just put your booking details, put your local information and your passport details, and you're done. Basically, you get Emerald Club and you get an email saying thank you, you're a part of Emerald Club. Now what happens is once you become a part of this Emerald Club, you get a free upgrade. Now I don't know if everyone gets it, but I definitely got an email saying, hey, you are eligible for a free upgrade. So I went to the people who I was taking the car from. Look at this. These are my 7 rental days done. Okay, 7 days of rental out of 40 days completed. I went and I said, I want a bigger car. Is there a reward available? So they said, yeah, you get a free upgrade. So don't worry about that. Take this free upgrade. They gave me a much bigger car, right? I got a massive SUV, but it also became very difficult because I couldn't park it in most places, right? Now, apart from this, the other expenses that I didn't foresee, gas expenses I knew would come, but I did not know it would be so much because they're at E85, ethanol blended 85 over there. So the gas was getting over quite fast. Apart from that, toll expenses took a big beating because I was traveling from the north to south, so I had to travel more than 1,300 kilometers overall. So the toll was quite heavy on me as well. And also another thing that I didn't realize, which I am very grateful to India for that, is there you have to pay for parking even if you go to a hotel. So when we were staying in a Radisson Blu, they said you need to pay 25 euros for parking. Any hotel there is no valet parking, you have to pay for parking. So we had to pay 25 euros per night in every single hotel that we stayed after Paris. So that was a big blow because I ended up wasting somewhere around 100 to 200 euros just on parking, and I would have definitely been sad. I mean, I was definitely sad that this happened, right? Because this is something I did not foresee. But there's no if and but around it. The other way is to go find free parking and keep it there. So this is what happened. This entire car was approximately 35,000 was the worth of the car. But I think with tolls and extra stuff, I ended up paying another 20,000 excess, right? In tolls and gas and other stuff. So that again added up to the entire cost, but that is okay. Now, finally, in the next segment, I'll show you all the different expenses and I'll show you a summary of how much it is and how much if you're planning to get it, you're planning to go, how much it would cost you. So finally, my total trip cost was approximately 7,76,000, catch approximately 8 lakhs just for good measure because here and there something would have gone. But in this total 8 lakh cost, the cost per person was around 4 lakhs per person for a medium budget trip, and the cost per day was 32,000. For a medium budget, it was 4 lakhs per person. If you had to optimize even more, I could have easily done this trip in under maybe 1 lakh was just flights, so there's no avoiding. No, 70,000 was flights, so there's no avoiding that. But around 2.5 lakhs to under 3 lakhs, you could have done this trip as well. Around 2.5, 2.75 also, you could have done this trip very good, like very easily. You could have done this trip if it's a low budget, right? 2.75 is a good amount to go around 12 days in Europe and then come back as well. Now, if you don't have that kind of money saved up, I would suggest don't do such a big trip. Do a smaller trip of 2.5 lakhs if you're going around Paris. And I showed you exactly how you can do all of these things and optimize it for the best kind of trip. Because not only did I enjoy this entire trip, I'm also going to enjoy 7.5 Air India tickets as well, and one more ticket on Vistara is what I'm going to enjoy towards the end. Awesome, guys. So this was the entire video of my entire Paris and France trip. I know a lot of people had questions, Shashank, how you went, what you did. So now I've shown you everything. I've also shown you the cost. So don't tell me that, Shashank, you did not show this or you did not show that. If you have any more doubts, or if you have any more questions, if you're planning to go to France or whatever, right, you have any more doubts, any more questions, drop in the comments below, because I've gone there. I can advise you and suggest you on something. I would also suggest a lot of people to take some food from here and go, because food cost was very expensive there. So I would suggest you take food and go here, like some theplas and khakras. I wish I had done that. I didn't. I took some MTR, but not that great. But I would suggest you take something and also have coffee in the thing, because I'm a coffee lover and I had to go out and drink coffee. It was, it hurt. Right, even for me, even 7-8 euros unnecessary spending hurts a lot, and that's how I'm tuned, right? Okay, awesome. So I hope you guys like this video. If you did, please click on the like, share button. If there's any friend of yours going to Paris or France, send them this so that they start getting all these perks right now, so they get a free upgrade and they also get a lot of other things. Okay, this is me, Shashank, signing off. Take care. See you guys. Bye.